Welcome folks to All About Lamb and things that go with lamb. And tonight on the menu, we're going to make some lamb sliders. To begin with, we're going to chop up an onion and 3 cloves of garlic, then we'll brown some meat and add a bunch of seasoning. So let's get started. Got my pound of ground lamb, and the recipe says brown it first. I always like browning onions first and then adding the meat, but that's not what the recipe says. I've also added a couple tablespoons of olive oil to my Dutch oven. So the meat has been browned, and we are going to add our onions. But not the garlic. Mix those in and let them soften up a little bit, turn a little translucent. And we'll start adding our spices. We'll add half a teaspoon of paprika, smoked paprika if you have it. Then I have half a teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. And I'm going to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of chipotle chili peppers, which has a nice smoky aroma to it. That's not in my recipe, but as I said, I always like to add things extra that I like. We want a teaspoon of salt. We want a teaspoon of cumin. Now we add our garlic. And if you have some fat in the bottom of the pan, you can drain that off. We're looking pretty good here. And we're going to add a can of Ro-tel diced tomatoes with green onions. Now we will let that rest. We can turn the heat off. It'll stay warm in that Dutch oven. And we'll move on to stage 2 of our recipe. Alright, let's move this out of the way, because we're going to make a sauce that goes over the top of our sliders. So we're going to add to the saucepan about 3/4 of a stick of butter. We need a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. A teaspoon of mustard powder. Just pulled our sliders out of the oven. We're going to give them a little bit of rest to cool off just a tad bit, and then we will plate them up in just a minute. See how they taste. Alright, let's see what one of these is going to taste like. Slider. We're going to get a little bit of our coleslaw there, or spring slaw they called it, and I think that needs a little bit of cracked pepper over the top. Well, if you're wondering what we thought of the lamb sliders, that's all that's left. It was pretty darn good. The spring slaw, also very good. Nice and crunchy, refreshing, a little lemony and salt. We liked it. Hope you give this recipe a shot. Very delicious.